Hi everyone. Hello my little early birds. Is it early? Well, 6 minutes. Oh, way earlier. I'm sure you guys are here for a while. Um so let me see who's here. Okay. Chirp chirp. Yo 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 yo. Okay. Today we will be talking about how to paint a nose in 3/4 view. And a lot of people have trouble with this because they don't understand the front view. So if you don't understand how to paint the front view of a nose, how to know how a nose works from head on, looking at it from front view, you won't be able to know how to paint it from side view. So what happens to Bob, Steve, and the wife, as we know them by, and I'll explain what those are in a second. What happens to them when they're pushed off to the side and when our heads move and we see the form stick out? Now, essentially the nose, let's first say Bob and Steve are the way we have made it recognizable, I guess, the different terms. Because I don't want to just say triangle this, triangle that. So essentially, a nose is broken up into a main triangle, an upside down triangle, and a circular object in between those two. That's essentially what a nose is broken down into. Then we have the open bracket, closed bracket, as I've clued them for you, and then we have the two slits that represent the nostrils. This is a standard way to paint a nose. Nothing too extravagant. I'm not teaching you how to paint bumps in the nose or all like that. I just want you now to focus on drawing a single kind of face, a basic kind of face. So this is basically the basic parts of how to paint a nose. So essentially, this is Bob, as we have come to know them. I only call them Bob and Steve because I want people to be familiar, sort of like get themselves in a sort of easy way. Bob and Steve. So Bob and Steve. So just remember these two if you ever want to paint a nose. Okay. And then we have the wife. The wife, basically, I just called it the wife. It's the circular object that represents the tip of the nose. That if we were to see this from the side view, and this circular object here represents the circular object here. So all of these elements, Bob, Steve, all of that stuff is still present in the side view of the structure of the nose, the biological structure of the nose. Okay, now that's easy from the side. It's easy to make a nose look like a nose from the side. It's easy to paint that. But what happens when you paint a nose that is neither front view or profile view? It's called 3/4 view. 3/4 view of a nose is difficult because you're in the middle of two intense perspectives of something that sticks out. When you see a nose from the side, you see one side more than you see the other side. That's a given. Does everyone know what I just said? When you see a nose from the side, you see essentially one side more than you see the other side. So when you paint a nose from front view, you paint Bob first. Bob here and Steve here. So Bob and Steve. When you paint from the front view. From the side view, you have to draw Steve first. Why? Because Steve at this point is what allows us, he's the anchor point of what allows us to know that it has become a 3/4 view. Because Steve holds the base of the triangle. So if you were to see a building, that's shaped like a triangle, and it's supposed to be sort of at this kind of perspective. The way to move the building around, or the way to move it if you were holding it in your hand. So let's say you're holding it in your hand. The movement of the building, if you had it on a 3D modeling program, it would move according to an angle, but essentially what's moving first is the base. Everything else attached to the base is moving with the base. So these anchor points here are all moving with the base. These are attached to this. When you move your feet, you're moving your whole body. But when you're moving only your head can't move so it's all the way around. Your head can't move all the way all over the place. It has a limited motion. So essentially the nose is anchored by the bottom, the base of it, essentially. And everything that sticks out is attached to the base. If you think about it like this, I know there's another way to think about it, different perspectives. I know everyone has their own way of approaching this, but essentially I'm teaching you my way of approaching it that's made my process, nose painting process, a lot easier. So if you think about it like this, you'll understand and accept the fact that you have to draw Steve first. Okay? Not Bob. So essentially, what I'm going to do right now is draw a nose from the side and show you how that really does help. So if I have, let's say I have a face, a head shape, and it's from the side, okay? And then I have my symmetry lines here and here, and I have the side here, and I'm just going to take down that opacity, erasing some of it off just so that I could have the guideline but not be interrupted by all those lines. Okay, so now I want to start drawing the nose. What do I do first according to what I've just said? Draw Steve first. Now I have the anchor points, the nose is somewhere here. When you draw Steve, you're supposed to know how to draw a triangle in the head-on view. So how do you draw a triangle that looks like it's moving away? So you have front view, and then you have side view, like this. It's very difficult to understand how to draw a triangle from the side without making it look like, you know, the image has been flattened out. So essentially, the number one thing that happens with people trying to draw side view using my rules is that they draw the normal shape of the triangle, front view shape, the one that we use for Bob and Steve from the front view. So their noses always look like they're facing towards the camera, but the head is facing towards this way, and that's when you have inconsistent form. So if you were to see this person's face from the side, from the front view, their nose would be facing this way, and everything else will be facing this way. Okay, so does everyone know that what I'm saying right now? Is everyone up to what I'm talking about? Good to go? Yes? Okay, thank you, Graphic Nonsense. All right, nice to see some new faces or new names here. Welcome, guys. Really, really welcome. Okay, so when this first step of drawing the side view of the nose, first draw the line. This line is going to stay a line. It's not going to be tilted this way. It's not going to be tilt. It's not going to be tilted this way or tilted this way. The top of the triangle that represents Steve is still straight. So if a line is, let's say you have a stick and the stick is facing this way, and then you tilt the stick toward away from you, it's not going to have that much of a tilt. The stick is a stick. It's a horizontal consistency. So try to keep the things moving at least with the bend of the face. But the face is generally shape-wise, geometry-wise, pretty flat lines. The only time it bends is when it bends away from the head. Okay? So paint the first line of Steve just horizontally. Next thing you do is paint the side that you see most. So remember, when you have a nose from the side, you see the nose, you see one side more than you see another side, more than you see the other side. Okay, so do you see how you see this side more than you see this side? And this is the wife, and this is the nose, and this is how it looks from the side. Okay, well, essentially same thing. There's one side that you see more. So one side of the triangle that forms Steve should be longer than the other side. Once you have, and listen to this, once you have this shape, you're ready to go. Because this is the base of the structure of the nose from three-quarter view. This is the base of it. This is all that it's about. If you have anchored this properly, you have the ability to make the nose not only look like it's facing the direction of the face, but be able to show the right amount of side of the nose that you're going to be painting. Okay? So does everyone understand the importance of being able to draw the Steve part? That's the second triangle, triangle number 2, properly. The importance of that. Yes, Inez, go ahead. No, no, no. The bottom of Steve is actually on the face. Now you thought of that according to how we made it, but the bottom of Steve is on the face, and that's when you have the area where you want to put the nostrils set. You have everything else. Remember how I told you if you know where the nostrils are, you can paint the nose, and a Steve is essentially where the nostrils are located. Where do you place the ear? You place the ear. Look at your face right now. Your ears are the bottom of your nose is aligned with the bottom of your ears. But the ears never go above the line of the eyes. So it's always between the tip of the nose and the line of the eyes. It's never below it. Okay? On the other axis. Yeah, so it's just look at your nose, look at yourself in the mirror. The tip of your nose, your ears never go below that. And the tip of your ears, the top of your ears never go above the line. Somewhere in between. Different ears are shaped differently, but if you have this essential sort of formation, you're good. Okay? All right. So, okay, thanks. Where is it out? Z-axis. How far back on the head? Problem is where it should be on the other axis. Okay, so I'm going to talk about later what happens when the structure of the head, how to paint a head shape. But essentially the head shape, the front of the head has its own side like this, side going like this, and the other side of the head has it's like a square. Okay, so it's like a square like this. So this is where the eyes and nose go, and this is where the ears go on the side. So between this line and this line, this is where the ears are, but they never go, they're aligned with where your jawline starts. So their jawline starts here, right? That's where your ears are formed, and they stick out, they protrude, and then your head shape just follows through. It's very easy to capture where you want to put the ears, because all you have to do is draw the side of the head first. This is what I do. I draw the side of the head, move in, draw the jaw. After I draw the jaw, I know exactly where to put the ears. I just start them there and make sure they don't go above the eye line. Someone asked where to put the ears, though. Mattia. Oh. Yeah, Inez asked. Sorry, Michael, Inez asked. Hello, George. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, so let's go back to the nose. The nose, once you get this side, this lengthy side first, you're capable of drawing the rest. A lot of you have trouble with 3/4 view, so please pay attention. I'm going to recap. When you draw Steve, Steve is the anchor for the nostril line, and you draw the horizontal line of Steve first. The next thing that you draw is the longest side. This longest side of the base of the nose represents how much of the nostril that you will see and how little of the other nostril you will see. Okay, so I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again, and we're talking about noses, Michael, and until you guys get it. Okay, so we're drawing a nose together. First thing we do, draw the horizontal line. Second thing we do, draw the longest line, and the longest line, according to where to put the end of it, you put it along the middle axis of the face. So where that V-axis goes, vertical axis, the Y-axis goes on the face that separates the two lines in symmetry, two sides in symmetry, that's where you end the longest side. But how do you make it so that this side can be long? If you do it equally on either side, the first horizontal line, you're just going to get the same shape, triangle. So what do you do when you draw the middle, the horizontal line, that first line that you draw it, so this is the V-axis, the vertical axis. When you draw that first line of Steve, you draw one side more than the other side, and that ensures that it will be in 3/4 view like this. Okay? So with me now, everyone draw a vertical line. This represents the place where either eye is going to go on either side and where the nose goes and the mouth. Okay? Draw that line, but right now we're doing 3D. So the way to start 3D is first with the shape of the head and second with Steve. Okay? I even draw the nose first before I draw the eyes, because drawing the nose helps me anchor the eyes on 3/4 view. It's very easy. If I draw the eyes before I draw the nose, this eye is always this way. This eye is always too far. So now I've been drawing the nose from this side. Okay, so draw the vertical axis, Then draw the base of Steve or the top of Steve and make sure one side is longer than the other. Then the first side that you draw, connect it this way. So this is the longest side of the triangle that represents the base of the nose. Then this, what's left here, connect that back to the base and you have a perfectly shaped triangle that represents the perspective change of 3/4 view. Okay? I always find myself wanting to put that straight line a little tilted. It will be tilted if the person's turned on 3/4 view and lifting their head. That's the only time it'll be tilted, or looking down, or tilting their head actually. The only way this will tilt, Mattia, listen to this. The only way this will tilt is if all the other lines are tilted too. It's like perspective. It's like the 3-point perspective that I told you about. If one line tilts, every other line tilts. So if these lines tilt, so will the nose. So will the nose. Okay? All right. So we have a good base now. This is the Steve that we were talking about. Now we've drawn a good Steve. Let's erase the rest of these so you don't get confuzzled. And now it's time to draw the rest of the nose. So again, draw a triangle along the vertical axis. Draw the horizontal line of the nose, of the base of the nose. One side is more than the other side. So this side is shorter. Bring the first side of the triangle towards the middle axis in a good distance separation, and then bring the second side. Now you have a good form for the nose. Next thing you do is you draw what came first last time that now has to come second. Okay, what has to... Bob, thank you. Thank you, Mattia. So Bob is next. So now that we have this side shorter than this side, this is going to ensure that we see most of this side first. This is the side that we see most of. When you draw a nose from 3/4 view, there's one side that you always see more than the other side. This is to ensure that the Bob that we're going to draw is making us aware of the fact that this side is going to be more. So the line that we already drew over here, this side is short, so where Bob ends is where Steve ends too. And now we have one side showing more than the other side. Okay? Alright, now we have this X here. This X is not where you put the wife. In front view, this is how we drew the nose. Everything was nice and symmetrical, very easy to work with. And then we put the wife right in the smack dab in the middle of the crosshairs. So does everyone know what I mean by that? How we put the Bob is right there? Yes? Okay. Now that we're doing 3/4 view, we can't put the wife there. Okay, we can't. We absolutely can't put the wife, because then it's going to be 3/4 view for everything else, and this part of your nose is sticking all the way to this side. So that's not what happens. What happens when we want to draw the wife side is we can't draw the wife yet. Why not? I get confused. Why not just draw a pyramid? What do you mean, a pyramid? You mean draw this just you know, freestyle? You can go ahead. You can go ahead and draw that if you want, like this, and then just shape it through. But that's later. That's when you get a good hang over what you're doing. You don't even need the measurements after a while. After a while, you just draw according to where you know these things exist, and then you just keep shading, shading, shading until you get a nice little nose and you're done. But right now, I'm trying to introduce you to the way you think about it, the way you organize the structure of the nose in your head. Michael, we can't draw the circle on the cross between Bob and Steve in 3/4 because that would mean that the nose is very flat. Exactly. So what do we do in order to know where to put the wife? Or you could just draw a line in the middle and then a triangle. The reason why I don't want you guys to draw the triangle and take shortcuts is because I want you guys to understand that the measurement is no longer symmetrical. And it's very easy, if you want to go ahead and draw a triangle, to draw it symmetrically. for a 3/4 view, and then nose looks like it's just facing towards you, and everything in the face is facing towards 3/4 view. I don't want you to do that. I want you to do exactly what I showed you here, because this is going to ensure that there's one side that's bigger than the other side. So this is what it's supposed to look like if you want to freestyle it. Okay, like this, and then one side is supposed to be shorter. Now all of a sudden things are facing towards 3/4. Okay, this is what I want. I don't want you to just draw a triangle in the middle of the face and say, yeah, damn you, Istebrak, and all your details. No, I want you to focus on the fact that this side is bigger than this side. This is the key to drawing a successful nose from 3/4 view. Okay? Okay. Okay, so what you do when you don't draw the wife on the central circle or tip of the nose on the crosshair is that you have to draw the first nostril first. The nostril that you see the first. So essentially you need the open bracket to introduce the nostril, and then you need that first nostril in there. Once you draw that first nostril and you want to start drawing the other nostril, you realize that if you do another nostril like this, it will no longer look like complete 3/4. It will just look like from the side 3/4, like a gentle 3/4 view, depending on the person's face. But essentially what you have to do is draw the wife after. This is more you have to memorize the order. You have to draw the wife after you draw the nostril. So you draw the wife right there. That way, this ensures that this is the tip of the nose. And then you draw a gentle line, and now we have a 3/4 view. Whether or sometimes the second nostril shows, but sometimes it doesn't show. And that's okay if it doesn't show. It just means that this nose sticks out more and that we can't see the other side. But essentially, guys, this is how you draw a nose from side view. And then just take down those details, bring everything down like I always tell you to, and then start shaping it up. Okay, and then there's the tip of the nose. And then the nostril won't even show. You just have to draw a gentle little darkness there to represent the shadow. And that's a pretty decent side view of a nose. Does everyone understand? So yes, exactly, brain food. The wife is always getting in the way. It's not hard, Michael. You just gotta remember it. You gotta remember the order. So here's the order. First, and please write this down. Write it on the notepads in your desktop. You see these things right here? Get one of these and put them on the desktop if you have Windows 7 or Vista, which I'm sure you do. Okay, so first thing is first. Draw the symmetry lines on the face. Okay, draw the symmetry lines on the face. These are the anchor to all realism. These right here, or half realism, or whatever you want to do. You want to mix it with anime, you want to mix it whatever. This is how you divide a face up. What about the weird angle between 3/4 view and frontal view? How about that? That's when part of the nostril shows. You gotta add a little bit more on this side. Do you know what I mean, Inez? You just gotta add a little bit more on this side. If you want a serious side view, let me show you what happens in serious side view. This side looks way bigger than this side, enough that we see all this what's it called, nostril, and this open bracket, and then all we see is tip, and then we no longer see the other side completely. And the eye is half hiding from there, and then everything is there, and then that's it. Okay, but when we see it halfway between front view, as you said, and side view, what we see is an almost symmetrical. So we draw the vertical line first, and then we draw the horizontal line, but we don't really push it all the way this way. We just add a little bit, enough that they're almost symmetrical, so that you see some. You see some, not all. It's a bit too long. You see some and not all of the other side. Like this. So you draw nostril number 1. You draw the wife, the circle part, always off the crosshair. Never like this, always like this. Okay? Push it to the side. Push it to the side, because there's one side of the nose that you're seeing more than the other side. So push it to the side here, and then draw the shape out. So bottom of the nose, start shaping out the side of the nose. And then draw a touch more, and then now you have space to put in the second nostril. When you see partially front view, that's when you see almost part of the other nostril. Okay? Resize for different shapes. Yes, thank you, brain fruit. Just resize the triangle and the ball. The ball doesn't get resized, brain. The ball gets pushed off. It's either on the crosshair for front view, to the side for partial front view, and all the way to the side for complete front view. And complete side view, when you're drawing the complete profile, the wife is all you got, and one nostril. And this is when you're drawing a profile side of a nose. So all you've got now is one side of the wife pushed all the way across the crosshair, away from the crosshair. And then you've got one nostril. And there you have a side of a nose. Did everyone see that? I know. Even if it's a hawk-shaped nose. I'll be covering those weird shaped noses, but essentially all nose types are under this sort of category of movement. These categories, like triangle, Bob, Steve, all that stuff. But weird shaped noses essentially they fall under the ugly. Not that they're ugly, but it's just that the perfectly shaped nose is too beautiful. This is the golden rule. We're talking about golden rules of noses. So when you find a model whose face is absolutely beautiful in every measurement way possible, how can you make her uglier? Well, you just have to destroy some of the symmetry in her face. You just have to destroy some of the symmetry. Do you understand what I mean, Inez? You have to take away from her beauty by taking away from the perfect sizes. So when you have a nose that is hawk-shaped, you still essentially can create the exact same, follow the exact same measurement kind. But this time, the wife isn't just here, it's all the way down here. Do you see how it's ugly now? Because it's left the parameters of beauty. These are the parameters. This triangle right here, this perfect little triangle, is the parameter of beauty. Once the nose, or any portion of the nose, leaves these parameters and exits, that's when you hit, not ugly, but you hit different. It's ugly considering the vanity of art itself. Art is a very vain practice. So it's all about beauty and all that. Sometimes it breaks beauty, and that's when it gets interesting. But yes, this pushing right here is what happens. So let's do that. Let's push the wife right here. We have to push the nostril to match that. So when the wife moves, it pulls the nostril with it, pulls the nostril, the side of the nostril, pulls it down here, and then we have to match the side of the nose like that. So then we get something that looks like this. So erase some of those harsh lines. And there you have a side of a nose that works as a side view. Not that much thing, maybe a little bit more eye hiding behind. Do you understand? But where do you place the brackets? Brackets are just sides of the nose. Brackets are still where they're supposed to be. Brackets are still where they're supposed to be. They're still where they're supposed to be, period. And then you draw the other side of the nose. Don't forget to... brackets are just representing the side of the nostril. That's it. It's just a line to hint to you where you're going to start shading. When you start painting this and you go into painting mode, you don't just leave it like this with a nice dark color. No, you shade around the nostril. Shade around the nostril. Make sure that it's following the shadows. You shade around it. The nostril line, the open bracket and close bracket here, open bracket, close bracket, are just to represent where these nostrils go. So you place them exactly where you want to, and this is up to you, and this is where you start getting creative. You want to make them flared out. You want to make them practically invisible. Like this. This is where the characteristics start to form in the face that you draw. Okay? Side view, for me, is a lot more easy than front view. Because front view, I'm constantly trying to make it look exactly the same on either side. I'm constantly always annoyed and constantly flipping the canvas. But when you do side view, you have to flip the canvas still. But now it's just a touch easier, not so much stress on symmetry, because things are going in that direction. Okay? And you have to start shading, okay, Inez? You can't just use lines to represent what you're doing. You have to start shading your way through it. and darken the sides that you don't see the most. Make sure you lighten up the sides that are seen by the light. So these sides here, push this. I saw a lot of videos online, like idrawgirls.com, all those guys, and I wanted to see how they approach painting the nose. And they really just tell you to just draw a line and then just draw a nostril. But you guys gotta remember the underlying measurements. No, I don't think I think these kinds of noses are very beautiful. But those teachers online really don't cover the underlying elements of, no offense to idrawgirls.com, I'm pretty sure you have a wonderful fan base, whatever. But they don't really cover the underlying measurements that go into painting a nose. It's very easy to get confused. Not everyone is a visual thinker, not everyone has photographic memory, so they can't really do all the measurements by themselves. So some people, Mattia, some people need these measurements in order to go around painting the nose properly. Okay? So, Inez, do you know what I mean now by the brackets? Do you know what I'm saying? I know for some of you this is like sort of confusing. I know for some of you this is like groundbreaking. You're like, oh, why didn't I find this before? But essentially, it should be pretty easy now to understanding painting a nose from this side. And then after, I'm going to teach you how to paint the lips by finding these little bumps that come underneath called the Cupid's bow. And then once you find those bumps, you can put the tip of the nose, move it down to find the first tip of the mouth, and get from this nostril, move it down to find the second tip of the mouth. And then just follow that. And now you have a pair of lips too, to add to the nose. But I'm going to be covering that a little bit better. But the lips are always easier, so I never really worry. Even though these lips are too beautiful for that nose. But whatever. Okay? So does everyone know what I'm talking about? Does everyone have a good understanding of what I'm talking about now? But how one side is always supposed to be equal to the other side, and oh, I saw this earlier. How you drew Prince Nuada. I love Nuada. Oh, habra habra. Sorry. Ines. Anyways, yes, so thank you, and I will go on now to how to color the nose. So does everyone on the same page right now? Okay, can you do a nose that points down or up? Okay, so you mean points down or up, that the face is moving up or down, or the nose itself is like a pig nose, like pointed up? The wife is pushed up. I mean, if the person's head is tilted. I'm not covering that just yet, Mitsia. I'm doing that on purpose because not only is it 10 times considers the bottom, 10 times more difficult because it considers the bottom of the chin. So you have to draw the head first. We're doing features here, but we'll forget about the head. So the bottom of the chin shows. I'll just run by it really fast, but I have to do it for the sake of time really fast. So let's say this person's chin is pointing up, and then we have the circle, and then we have everything tilted over. And then we have side view, and then we have this. But I'll show it, I'll just do it for you guys here. Okay, and then we have the ear, and then we have the forehead flattened out, and then we have the shape of the head, sort of like this. Okay, sorry about that, it's really rough. Okay, so take down some of those lines. Alright, so the way you draw is the same thing. It's still 3/4 view. Make sure that the nose, though, now follows the lines that have been tilted. These lines are horizontal when you look at them through front view, but when they tilt, you see the curvature of the face because the face isn't like a square completely flat on one side, but it's circular, so it shows. Okay, Mattia? So that's number one. Make sure that the line that you use Steve as is tilted. Okay, I watched one of those high-speed sneeze videos. You mean slow speed. You mean the slow-mo. Right, Michael? Those are disgusting. Anyways, so yeah. No high-speed cam. Oh. Anyways, guys, listen. Okay, so Mattia, you tilt the nose this way, and then you move it here. But the wife now is not ugly, but it's above the crosshair. This is the crosshair. The wife is now up here, but make sure it's not all the way up there or somewhere that makes it seem like the nose, if we were looking forward, is a what's it called? Is a pig nose. The way to always make sure that the nose is not a pig nose is to keep some of the wife on the triangle parameters. Okay? One side is going to be completely invisible for this. Where to put the wife? So that seems to be the difficult spot for you guys. So where to put the wife is, like I said, front view, the wife is in the middle. Side view, the wife is off beside the crosshair. So this is the crosshair, beside the crosshair. Okay? Think 3D for thank you, Mattia. Think 3D for the wife, okay? But you don't have to think 3D because some people don't know how to think 3D. They've never used 3D modeling programs. They don't think with form. So what you have to do is just remember, okay, space, push the wife to the side of the crosshair. Not on the crosshair like this, but to the side of the crosshair like this. Make it as big as you want. If the person's nose is particularly rhombus shaped, or rhombus, what did I say? Okay, and then just like make it like that. And there you have like a nice little big nose. And then decrease the size of the nostrils or increase the size of the nostrils. Make the nose completely large. Why would she be anywhere else? She would be anywhere else if the person's nose was not following the golden rule. So if she was all the way down here, they would have a very weird nose like that evil lady in Spirited Away. Okay? And the nostril would show like that. Or if it was all the way up here, the nostrils would be pointing up. And then you'd have a nose that points up like an elf's. Or like some, I don't know. Okay? So you'd have a nose that looks like this. If it was very pointy and pig-like, and you see the entirety of the boogers and the nostrils, and then the lips would be pulled over. And then it's very good for caricatures too, if you remember the structure of the nose. Okay? So Mattia, back to the side view. Same idea. Just make sure that the wife is still within the parameters of the triangle, and then draw the nostrils. But this time you know that you're going to see more of the nostrils because the person's looking up. So that's the first thing. Second thing is just drawing the side of the nose, and then making sure that this eye is hidden, and that this eye now is showing a little bit. Okay, that eye is retarded. Make sure it's on the line. Okay, Mattia? And then the lips, same idea. Just, that rhymed. Just a little bit to the side. The lips also stick out, but not stick out so much that it looks like this. But stick out to a point where it just, you can see the structure, basic structure. For those new people, please add my Skype. So if I do any of your critiques, I can send them to you. Okay? Alright, so always remember that it's all about where you place the side that you see more. And now if you know how to do this side, is there a difference from doing the other side? No, absolutely no difference. It's just the exact same thing, just flipped over. And if you have trouble flipping it over, do it on one side, then flip it over with Control-Alt-W. Or flip canvas horizontally in the images here. So image, image rotation, flip canvas horizontal. Okay? Okay, George. Alright, so is everyone good with this? Is everyone good with this right now? Is everybody all like, woo, I can paint a nose? Any questions? So this is a place where you can ask questions so I can go over it and you guys can make sure that you understand everything from all perspectives. And remember, you don't learn until you have you don't have full experience until you have field experience. You can sit in an office practicing policemanship for all your life, but if you don't have field experience, you won't know how you know, how to think like a criminal, how to work in that sense. Same thing scientifically. If you sit in the lab all day long, you won't know how to apply those rules that you learned in class on you know, the world outside, and how to grab soil material and observe it, and how to make sure you're grabbing the right kind of soil. Same thing with art. Just make sure you have your field experience, practice, sit down in front of a computer, in front of a sketchbook, get a pencil, get anything that you could use, and just start drawing and practice it. Okay, build your style up. Build that nice way you stroke. Everyone has a different way of stroking their pencil or their pen or their whatever, and their brush, and then learn your style. But these are the basic measurements. These will help you create a convincing looking nose. Do you upload random sketches somewhere? On my blog, I guess. Blog. Why did I say blog? On my on the thingy. What's it called? DeviantArt. Hey industry, welcome. On my DeviantArt. So if you know my DeviantArt, you know my, you know where. Thanks, very helpful stream. No problem, Everness. Practice. Make sure that you practice it. Don't just forget everything I said. Practice it. These will be available on rerun. I'll be uploading them on YouTube soon sometime. And thank you, Brain. And yes, we're doing three-quarter view. I recommend you go back after industry and look at everything that I said, because for the sake of time I can't repeat everything again. So I have to start looking at people's critique. I have to start critiquing people's work and people's 14-day challenge pieces, and then I have to focus on how to, now that we painted a face from three-quarter view, now we have to color it. So lately, this isn't like old semester where we can only draw grayscale. Now we have to do everything in color. Everything has to be in color now. Okay? I'm not gonna take any shortcuts. So if you guys go on the Dropbox page, and let me just load Dropbox. I have an example of all the skin tones I used on the how to paint skin. So it's right here, these skin tones. So I have them on. So I'll use the exact same just to show that I'm not using anything new, and that you guys can keep up with the lesson plans. And I'm not using any new skin tones, anything scary or out of place. I'm just using the same old skin tones I used last time. Just noses. So the 14-day faces too. Yeah. I lost the ability to see colors. But we will know how to apply color. Just noses for now. Yeah, just noses. Sorry, am I confusing you? I'm sorry. So basically, just like last semester, I would teach you how to draw a nose and then just leave it at that. Okay, now I have to draw a nose and then start coloring it. Okay, because this is what second semester is all about. No, you don't have to color the 14-day faces. No, just focus on form for now. That's it. Okay, so for class, for homework, I'm going to ask you to draw a nose. If you want, you can color it, because I'm going to show you how to color it if you want, but I recommend you do. It's just, shoot all the targets at once. Just color the noses in the 14-day face. No, Michael. Leave the 14-day faces grayscale. I just want you to focus on, just draw another nose completely. Silly. Just color the nose. Or do we have to color just their noses? Okay. Alright, so I'm going to draw a nose with the same idea that I taught you. And I'm going to start following all the rules that I just showed you. So symmetry line. Draw the top of Steve first. Make sure one side is more than the other side so we can keep the, I think industry, you're a quick learner, so I think you'll just get it from this. Keep one side shorter, the side that's facing away from you. Connect that side to the center of the symmetry line, and then connect that side back. Then draw the bracket, open bracket, and then draw a nostril. Okay, and then draw the wife off to the side. Lead from the bottom of the nose to the wife, or to the central circle or central formation, and then draw the side of the nostril, like that. And then, actually that's a bit off, and then push it over. Erase some of it down. So right now I'm not using a black, I'm just using an off like a brown. And then just keep sketching, following the lines, the guidelines that you gave yourself, finding some sort of shading. Okay, remembering that this whole side will cast a shadow. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm not going to ask you to put a shadow downward anymore. I'm going to ask you to push the shadow over here. If you want to push the shadow downward, fine, meaning that the light source is either coming from here or here. Your choice. It can't be coming from here, can't be coming from here. For class, I want the light source coming from here or coming from here, casting a shadow over this side or this side. Alright, so I'm going to throw the shadow off to this side. And then, I'm sorry, my mistake, I didn't paint the base. So I'll just pretend I painted the base first. So this is the base of the skin. Alright, and then I'm going to start shading it in properly. So getting rid of those guidelines, making sure that I keep the form. I always forgot what colors are anyway. What is that silly red clown nose comes to mind? Because of the circle. And then make sure you shade the bottom here too. And just keep forming the nose, applying all those colors that I told you. So using only the shades. Remember how we started off using only shades? Now this is something that you'll come across. One side will look like it's non-existent. So what you have to do is shade on the other side as well. So the tip of the nose isn't completely invisible. The side of the nose that's not facing you isn't completely invisible. There is a side that you can see still because the nose isn't completely off to the side. So what happens is that when you bring in your lighter color, which is this one, you bring it on this side and then you push this to meet with the cheek. So essentially the only dark sides that you have are the nostrils. It's exactly what I told you before, the 5 darkest places on the face. Or 6, depending on how you draw the face, mouth open or closed. And then putting the light here, casting off some more shadow. And just keep sculpting. Remember, sculpt with your brush, don't just paint, but sculpt. I'm going to put a nice, like somewhat of a shadow for the eyes so I know where to. Okay, fix that shadow and then bring in your colors to sculpt. I think I'll use the other. And now your nose is going to look like it's sticking out the way a nose should. Sometimes people paint a nose and it looks like it's flat. But yeah, big nose. But what I want is for the nose to look like it's actually sticking out of the face. Okay, and then once you form the other side of the shadow, and push some of it off to the side here, you will have a nose that starts to read, a nose that reads. Meaning, not reads like reads book, but a nose that looks like it's a nose. And what I do when I reach this area here and the shadow is casted off and the nose looks like it's sort of doesn't belong there, I paint the other side. So let me darken the nostril first. Some of the other nostril is showing. And then I get a second color to paint the bridge of the nose with. So meaning that this other side has a little bit of illumination in it. Okay, and then I line up these sides, make sure they're illuminated properly by the other side of the light. Remember that edge light that I taught you guys back in the grayscale days? And just keep forming. When you start coloring, that's when things get difficult. Because you have to start forming the shape of the nose with a lot more care, because you're not going to paint the brightest side isn't going to be the whole part of the wife. The brightest side is going to be where the light is. So you're going to have to remember lighting when you start shading. And already we're getting the shape of the nose because we brought in light parts. Okay, so do you see how a nose is starting to come through? Because you have to take it step by step. It's not going to look like a nose right away, and that's okay. It's going to take a bit of time for it to look like a nose, like a really good nose. So when you bring in the light parts, then you have to be careful because you have to remember, I told you guys, always be careful when you bring in the light parts because you have to place them in the spot that matters and the spot that really, really effectively works to form the nose. So I'm using the same colors I used last time, nothing new, same colors that I taught you about how to paint skin. Still showing, remember how when we painted a nose from the front view, we put that nice light underneath on the septum of the nose, that little thing that connects the two sides. Where would I use the orange? You mean this? This is the blush. So you use it between the purple and the yellow, and I'll show you in a second where you use it. Okay, so we use this, we use this, we use this. We used all these three. Now it's time to use these big guns. These big guns are the realism parts. These are the base colors that I showed you guys last time. I just used only base colors. Now I'm going to start using the complementaries, which is the purple and the yellow, the blush, and the reds. So what I'm going to do first is use the reds. Use them in the shadows to reignite the reds and make the nose look like it's alive. So I'm going to push those reds into the shadows that I created, just to make sure that everything still contains that bloody undertone, which is the blood underneath the transparency of the skin. Not too much though, just a brush over it. Okay, and then just keep shading, keep forming the nose, the nostrils. And then what I do after is get the purple. This purple, I put it in the shadows to cool the shadows down because I use the red. Always use the red before you use the purple. I don't know if I had said it like that last time, but just remember now that always use the red before you use the purple so that when you do use the purple and it cancels out the red or assists the red or cools down the red, you use it in a way that doesn't disrupt the reds that you already have. Okay, so form the shadow of the nose like that. And now look at the shadow. The shadow is purple. The shadow looks like, everything looks like it's realer because now you've added the real life stuff that happens in real life, which is complementaries. And then start bringing in the yellows. The yellows are the opposite of purples on the color wheel. So place them over everything that you have recently painted. Not so much like it looks like an actual yellow, but just a touch, just to show that the light source is the natural light source. And remember I told you guys, always paint as if it's the sun shining there. Don't paint any other way. Don't paint with artificial light. You don't need it. So always a hint of yellow in the light source, just to make it look fleshy and gorgeous and beautiful. Okay, and the side of the nose, just a touch. No, those are artificial lights. There's no such thing as a green light. What you do is you keep the shadows cool and you add a hint of red, almost impossible to tell, and that's just for the sake of the realism. I thought they were the shadows. The reds, yeah, they're right here. The reds are right here, right near the tips. Just to keep, but that's the blush color that I'll be using. Okay, so I used the yellow and using them just a touch more. I usually bring in a brighter yellow, meaning push it over to the side here, just to make it a little bit more visible. And that's later, but I'll do it right now. Okay, just to make the nose look shiny, as a nose would. And then what I do is, let me just outline these properly. This part, this outlining, shows that the nose is still a nose. This outlining is very important. You just outline the sides, outline the septum, and outline the other nostril. Okay, what I do next is I bring in the blush color. This blush color, excuse me, goes in between, always, like I did it here, goes in between the purples and the yellows that you use. So where am I going to put the blush color? Right here, between the purples and the reds, between the purples and the yellows, right here, and anywhere else in the face that I've used it. So right here, where I'm supposed to put some yellows for the cheeks. The touch here. And that's it. Just make sure you keep the nose sculpted and acting like a nose. So this, remember that white that you outline with promotes the idea that there is another side and another reflection of light on the other side. Okay, and that's it. We use the colors, we use the simple measurements, and we sculpted a nose that looks like it's 3D. We haven't drawn a nose from side view that doesn't look like it's facing us while everything else is on the side. Yes, rim lighting, that's what it's called. And now the nose looks like a nose. And I didn't do this by saying abracadabra, give me a nose. I drew it through the measurements that I showed you. I used the colors that I gave you that are available on Dropbox, if someone could link it. And these colors that I use are available. Exact same colors that I gave you guys. And I used the base colors first. Base colors first to sculpt the nose after I sketched it in. And I sketched it in with a gentle dark. And I used the reds after to make sure that the reds are preserved in the nose structure. Then I used the purples on the shadows, which were formed out of this darkness here. And then I used the yellows, and I put the red in between the yellows. The yellows were only on the lighter parts. Okay. And what's the difference between the reds and the purples? Because you put them both on the shadows. The purple is the cool cast by the yellow. And the red is the fact that there is blood underneath the shadow that is cast by the fact that there is light. So remember, light is divided into two parts, the color part and the lightness part, the value. So the reason why I put the reds in there is because look at this color here. I put the reds in there because this color, this is my lightness color, and actually wait. This color and this color, these two are used in the lightness. When I take down the color portion of them, all I have is light colors. So you don't really see this one because of the background. Let me make it a touch darker. Oh, crud. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. This part and this part, this colors, when I take down the color, all I have is lightness. This lightness that I have is from the whites in the light. Every light has white in it, but that white doesn't stay only white. It has color in it, a hue, and that is because of the chemical reaction and fire. Nothing's perfectly white unless it's white hot. Nothing is, even when it's white hot, it's not white. It's just that it's so hot. The chemicals in there have already burned out, and there's no longer any of that one chemical that casts off the yellow light that we find in the sun or we find in other high mass or low mass stars. Okay? I know that's all confusing, but essentially that's what I'm saying. That the reason why we put the red underneath the shadows, on the shadows, is because that white is reinforcing the transparency of the skin, and the skin has blood underneath it, red hot blood. That skin is going to reveal itself because the light is throwing, even if it's in the shadows, because it's not that dark that you don't see the face at all. It's not a dark room. The room is lit, and the shadows aren't really that intense. They're just gentle shadows. So we still see the red inside, underneath the skin, as much as we see the red on the skin. So this red is for under shadows red. This is what I call the undershadow red, and this blush color is light areas red. So under light red. This is the red of the blood that shows on the cheek and between the reds and the yellow and the purples and the yellows, and this is the red that we keep in the shadows to keep things not looking dead. Just because it's shadows, Michael, does not mean that it's going to be completely dark and completely gray, because the skin is transparent. It's still transparent in those areas. Thank you, space. And the blood is still going to show whether it's in the shadows or whether it's in the lights. Okay? That's why I use the red in the shadow. Got it? Okay. There are no major green natural light sources. Right wing. Who says that? What do you mean there's no green light? I don't. Natural light is there's no green. Have you ever seen a green sun? Have you ever seen a green star? No such thing. There's blue stars. There's orangish stars, but that's pretty much it. There's only red and blue. Sunlight, there's no green in sunlight. So what happens is that it becomes an artificial light or a bioluminescence. Bioluminescence acts as an ambient light. So let's say you were the art director of the scene in Avatar where they're outside in the nighttime and it's glowing, everything is glowing. That's bioluminescence. That's not considered sunlight. That's not considered a light so strong from a source so far away that it brings out the transparency in our skin, because it's green and blue and all those cool colors, so you don't really get all the reds that come through in the skin. It doesn't really shine so hard that you see the transparency and you see the blood. So so what if a green environment absorbs all the colors except green? Everything will have a green tint to it. Everything will have a green hint to it. And that's exactly what happens when you burn magnesium is green. This is all artificial lights, you guys. It's either a filter, a chemical, whatever. But when we paint skin, the best way to make skin look like it's real is what? Just accept the fact that you're going to need some sunlight to make the skin look like it's glowing, it's beautiful, and that's pretty much what you want in art. If you want to make someone look green, you know what? Just get a color layer. Get yourself a nice little green. And there she is in a green room, and her skin looks greenish. Okay? That's very easy to do because everything, all the reds are canceled out because reds oppose greens in the color wheel. Alright? So let's say you had a blue light shining from this side. So just to ease up all the tension right now. So let's say you had a blue light shining from this side. What you're going to have is some of that blue change not only the color of the skin, like this, but it's going to cast off rim light that's also blue. And that's when you have a nice little rim of blue to the noses that you paint. But this side is not going to have any blue in it because there's no blue on this side. It's just going to be a gentle little ambient light that some artists use to create a sense of glowiness or add that extra little effect that makes everything happy-go-lucky and successful, and then you get a daily deviation and all that shit. Okay? So what do you mean reflected? Light that has bounced off a surface and reflected another. What about a tiny hint of blue on the cheek? What about a tiny hint of blue? What do you mean tiny hint of blue? And as you mean the greens that happen? They're not blues, they're greens on the other cheek. Oh, you mean like this, like a little touch like that. Yeah, you can have that. But I'm just saying these colors don't turn blue just because there's a blue light. Yeah, that doesn't just turn blue like this just because there's a blue light all around. No, it's just going to cast off some of it because there's another light that's making all this come out, and that other light is a yellowish light, like this one. Where is it? Oh, crud. Like this one. Okay? This light is stronger than this light. This is secondary light used to reveal more and fun and interesting things.